I'm Attorney Ben Crump, along with Attorney Chance Lynch, Attorney Bruce Murray, Attorney Richard Gideon, and the Finkelstein and Partners law firm. We have the distinct honor of representing the family of Stephenson King, Jr. We have with us his father, Stephenson King, Sr., his fiancee, Tina, his sisters, Ebony, Sabrina, and Alyssa, who are all present with us, and their other family members. We are standing here for a reason, because we want justice for Stephenson. Let me repeat that. We are standing here for a reason, because we want justice for Stephenson. We are standing here for a reason, because we want justice for Stephenson. Why are we standing here? Because we, like the prosecutors, believe that on March 11th, the Boston police officer, O'Malley, unjustifiably killed a citizen who lived in Boston, Massachusetts, a citizen who was loved by his family, loved by his community, and his life mattered. Yes. His family is one of law enforcement. His father is retired from law enforcement. He has other family members who are in law enforcement. They believe in justice. They believe in standing up for justice and the constitutional rights for all citizens. And they are going to talk with you at this press conference about who Stephenson King Jr. was. Stephenson struggled with mental health issues, and his mother died in 2009, and from that time to this time, you'll hear from his parents and his sisters about the challenges he had. And it's sad, Councilman Culpepper, that oftentimes when people in our community have mental health issues, they get redefined as criminal justice issues. And that's something that we have to deal with in a very real way. The fact that even the day of the tragedy, his family were trying to get him mental health intervention. The fact that his father, on that very day, and he will tell you in his own words, had an ambulance come to the house and take him to the hospital. He then somehow got out of the hospital and went to another medical facility and told them that he needed medical intervention, that he had been assaulted. Obviously, there was some mental issues happening on that day that his family was desperately trying to get him help for. The fact that everybody that they said he seemed to be in a paranoid state. You hear his sister and his family talk about they believed he suffered some episodes of schizophrenia. But let it be known that just because you're having a mental health crisis doesn't mean you should be sentenced to death. And that police officer on the side of that street was the judge, the jury, and the executioner, per his family. And all they want, all the community wants, is the truth to be revealed. They want transparency, because if we all can see what happened, we can all see for ourselves the truth. Councilman Worrell, it has always been about transparency plus accountability equals trust. And this is about building trust between law enforcement and the community. You know, it's often puzzling to us, Mr. Peterson, that when they have a video of somebody in our community doing something wrong or inappropriate, that video is released immediately. It's all over the news. But it seems to be when you have video of the police doing something inappropriate, then we just gotta go through a long, exhaustive investigation that could take months. I've seen it take years, and it's almost as if they try to suggest to us that there's something so complicated when the police is doing something wrong on video, and we reject that because we believe in equal justice under the law, that if somebody in our community do wrong and we have evidence of it, then they should be held accountable. If there's a video and the police did something inappropriate and wrong, then they should be accountable and they should be arrested just like they would arrest and convict somebody in our community, and it should be transparent. It should be transparent. The prosecutor met with the family and our legal team this morning, and we're very grateful to the district attorney's office trying to administer justice fairly. That's very important. That's so very important to build a community trust, that they will have the courage, not political expediency, but they would choose courage to try to do the right thing by all citizens, by people who certain people would like to try to have a rush to judgment. They're trying to say, oh, because they charged the police as a rush to judgment. Well, wasn't it a rush to judgment when he shot and killed Stephenson King, Jr.? We're not trying to ask for anything extraordinary here. All we're asking for is equal justice under the law. All we're asking for, if the roles were reversed, and it would have been Stephenson King, Jr. who killed the police officer, we want the prosecutor to do the same exact thing that we're asking him to do now, to administer justice fairly. We want everybody to understand that transparency is good for everybody. If the officer did nothing wrong, then we should be able to see it on the video. If the officer did something wrong, we should be able to see it on the video. Consequently, if Stevenson did something wrong, we should be able to see it on the video. Because transparency is good for all of us. It's good for the family, and it's good for the Boston Police Department. So we say to the mayor, the police commission, we say to everybody, all we're fighting for is equal justice. We shouldn't have two justice systems. We should have equal justice for every citizen. Is that so much to ask? Think about this, the fact that what the district attorney's office saw in that video was very revealing to them that they would charge the police officer. And now we know that's not something done lightly by the district attorney's office. We believe that video will reveal very disturbing actions that warrant the elements to be met of manslaughter. Do we want the police officer to have due process? Absolutely. Absolutely. But we want to make sure that the police are not allowed to operate with impunity. We want them to understand that we love our children just as much as they love their children. That we're going to stand for our children just like they're going to stand for their children. And that we're going to fight for justice for our children, just like they're going to fight for justice for their children. And the fact that he is a black citizen and he's having a mental health crisis does not equal the death sentence. He should have been given due process also. The same due process that they're asking for Officer O'Malley, we want that due process for black people in the black community of Boston. We're standing here for a reason, because we want justice for Stephenson. I will tell you this as we make ready to hear from Attorney Lynch and then the family members. When we think about the video, whether it's released tomorrow or it's released a year from now, it's going to be the same video. We believe the evidence, the trajectory of the bullets where Stephenson was shot, that evidence is going to be the same today that it should be in a year. What we've always been concerned about in the black community has been when justice is delayed, that becomes tantamount to justice being denied. And we refuse to let them sweep this under the rug. We refuse to let them act as if Stephenson's life did not matter. We refuse to let them just paint the narrative that he was not worthy of respect, he was not worthy of consideration, that he was not worthy of constitutional promises that are made to all American citizens. You know, Pastor Castro, I think they've called him everything but a child of God. That's right. That's right. Well, we're here in this cathedral reminding everybody that we're all God's children. That's right. And that we deserve the dignity and humanity that all God's children deserve. Mental health is a very real issue. I pray that if you have family members who have mental health issues, that when they have encounters with the police, that they will give them a helping hand and not 3 bullets in their body taking them from this world. We're only asking for transparency to get to the truth. And once we get that transparency, and we can all see what happened, then we want accountability. And once we get accountability, then we want to help build stronger relations between law enforcement and the community so all of our children can get home safely. and not be killed by the very people who are supposed to protect and serve them. That is our plea. At this time, you're going to hear from one of the most able lawyers who I've worked with. He's one of our senior litigators, and he's been working with the family and with the district attorney trying to get information from the family for them to make sure we have a thorough investigation. And so I'm so honored to introduce you all to Attorney Chance Lynch.
Thank you, Attorney Crump. On March 11th, a son was murdered. A father was murdered. A brother was executed on the streets of Boston, Massachusetts, by the same individual who took an oath to serve and to protect. Let me say that again. A son was murdered. A father was taken. A brother was executed. And you say, well, what is it that we want? Right now, we're asking for transparency. What is transparency? I looked it up en route here, and it's clear. It says transparency is the quality of being open, clear, honest, allowing information and processes, listen to this, or light to pass through without hidden agendas or obstacles.
Amen.
We're asking for transparency. What happened? And the same accountability and the same measure of accountability that will be applied to Stephenson should also be applied to O'Malley. Mm-hmm. Now, while this family, we stand with this family asking for transparency, and while we ask for that, it appears that there are some others who are asking for exemption. Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, no one is exempt from the law. Amen. And here's the reality. No life gets taken without accountability. Amen. Stephenson King Jr. should not be dead. And so the question remains, when does accountability come to Boston? When does transparency come to Boston? When does Stephenson get justice? We stand in solidarity with this family to simply say the time is now. Justice for Stephenson.
Justice for Stephenson. Justice for Stephenson. Justice for Stephenson. Justice for Stephenson. Justice for Stephenson. Justice for Stephenson. Justice for Stephenson. Justice for Stephenson. Justice for Stephenson. Justice for Stephenson. Justice for Stephenson. Justice for Stephenson. And we say that because we want this family to know that they're not the only ones standing for justice for their son Stephenson. And I know once the press leave and the crowds get smaller, the family is going to be still thinking about our son is gone. This was Stephen's senior baby boy. And even though he wasn't perfect, even though he struggled with mental illnesses, he didn't deserve to be killed like this. He did not deserve to be killed just because our officer had a rush to judgment. If it's been claimed that the district attorney had a rush to judgment, then what about the rush to judgment on March 11th? Mm-hmm. Isn't that a fair question as well? Mm-hmm. I think we shouldn't have two systems of justice. Why should police officers, Councilman Culpepper, get to review body cam videos before they make their statements? If the roles were reversed, I promise you, Stephenson wouldn't have been allowed to review a video before he made a statement. We just want to have equal justice under the law. This is a family that is law enforcement their whole career. And so that same justice they work to uphold for everybody else, they want it for their family too. Now, they're not lawyers or elected officials. They're just a broken-hearted family who's going to try to speak to you all from the heart about who Stephenson was and why they're here fighting for justice. You're going to hear first from his father, Stephenson Sr., Stephenson King Sr. Justice for Stephenson.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Yes, I just want to say my son wasn't perfect, but he was a great son. He did a lot of things that made me happy and made his family happy. However, he has some mental issues going on, and I've tried to help him with it by also going to the court, Dorchester Court, and requested the judge to help me help my son, because at 39 years old, I couldn't do it because he's too old. And I was told by a person that he was fine, but he wasn't fine. Now he's gone. And he shouldn't be dead, because of the fact is I try to get some help from the same law enforcement. I worked in the system, and to see my son gone the way he's gone is very brokenhearted for me, personally. So I apologize if I seem a little, a little angry, but I am. I'm hurt, disappointed, and everything that has happened. And that day I put my son in an ambulance. I wasn't expecting him to be dead the same night. I was expecting to go see him the next day and bring him home so that he can be with me so I can keep an eye on him. However, that didn't happen. So I just want to say I want justice for my son, and everyone in this world should want justice for anything like this that happened to their family. As a person who was entrusted to do stuff for the Commonwealth, I had to think first before I did actions. And one of the things officers are taught, you think before you do your actions. Follow your policies, follow the law, and you'll be protected just like anybody else. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, you will hear from Miss Tina.
Hi, my name is Tina. I'm Stephenson Sr.'s fiance. And Stephenson Jr., he was like a son. I came into this family 11 years ago, and I met all of them. Beautiful family, beautiful family. Stephenson was loved. It's one of the things I love about this family is they are closely knit and love one another. They serve one another with love. And Stephenson was one of the kindest and most generous young men that I knew. Stephenson would give you whatever he had. He would give you the coat off of his back. We saw Stephenson every morning, every night, and we won't anymore. We won't see him. To say good morning, to say, how you doing, darling? That was his phrase. I'll tell you what I loved about Stephenson, even in his struggles. From the time I met Stephenson, you can tell he was struggling with something. And I would talk to his father about it. What's going on with Stephenson? And he would share the stories of Stephenson after his mom died, how he was never quite the same. He struggled. He was heartbroken. He had loss. And you could see it in him. You could see it in him, in the decisions that he made. They weren't always great. They weren't always perfect, but are any of our decisions perfect? Is anything about us perfect? No. So Stephenson wasn't perfect, but Stephenson definitely struggled. He struggled with mental health, like a lot of people in our community. And Stephenson, like a lot of people in our community of color, he didn't get what he needed. He didn't get the help that he needed. And it's always when it's too late. I'll miss Stephenson on Christmas when he prides himself on the gifts that he gives his nieces and nephews. He loved it. When he had a gift for those kids, he came in like Santa. Stephenson should be here this Christmas. He should be giving out gifts this Christmas.
Amen.
But he won't be. He won't be, and we're going to miss that. Thank you.
Tina, can you and Stephenson tell a little bit about the paranoia that you are?
Oh, yes, yes. Stephenson, he exhibited signs of paranoia all the time. He always thought that people were just there when they weren't there. Yeah. Just, he talked to himself. I would watch that from a window in the morning when he would go out to have a cigarette. You could stand, and sometimes I'd have to go to a different window to see if maybe he was talking to a neighbor, but he wasn't. He wasn't. Stephenson was talking to himself or whoever he thought was there.
Matter of fact, I had more concern than anything else because in the house there was plugs for cable, and I would go and find paper stuck in the cable or stuff in the socket. I would say, Stephenson, why is it that you have paper stuck in those things? He said, because they're watching me. I said, watching you? Who's watching you? He said, Dad, you don't understand. They're watching me. I said, Stephenson, it's just you and me in here. Nobody's watching you. What are you talking about? All his phones that have a camera to the back, like this, he would put paper. He would tape it, thinking somebody's watching him. That's how bad it was. That's why I was trying to get some help for my son.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Tina Stephenson Sr. Now you're going to hear from his sister, Ebony, to talk about her efforts with her family trying to get her brother help. And she's with her sisters, Alyssa and Sabrina.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Ebony. I'm the sister of Stephenson. We are all sinners, saved by grace.
Amen. Amen.
My little brother Stephenson has had a past, as we all do. What I do know is mental health is no joke. My brother was in the midst of a mental health crisis prior to his demise. He was going through many programs for mental health that were through Boston Medical Center, and he showed up daily to seek help, right? But I'd like to talk a little bit more about my brother, mental health, and more in detail than what we had to go through. There were many times I would get phone calls because he lived somewhere. He would live with my other part of my family, and they would call me. And I was his person. He trusted me. He listened to me. And they would say, Stephenson is not doing well. There's something really wrong. He is not making complete sentences. I'm scared. This is my grandmother. I'm scared for him because I think he needs the help. My sisters and I have tried several times through the court system to get him committed and sectioned under 35. But there's such a big gray area that it was denied. because we didn't have a hard copy at the time, although we had finally found him. Despite my brother having these mental health issues, he was family oriented. He loved us. He loved people. He'd help a stranger. I'd be on the phone with him and he would say, help someone else that is over, on the other side on the phone. And I say, well, who are you talking to? Well, this guy, he needed $5. I didn't have much, but I gave him my $2. He was a good person. He did not deserve this. I want to go back to his mental health. Stephenson, the system knew that he was sick. They did. They knew he was sick because when he would be in jail, Middlesex County, they would send him to Massac in Plymouth. If you know what Massac is in Plymouth, it is a mental health facility for prisoners. He pleaded every single day. He called me and said, there's nothing wrong, but when people have mental health, they just don't see themselves as that. But he realized, okay, after I spoke to him, well, let me stay in here, let's see what they can do. But the system knew that he had mental health, and what they did is that they kept bringing him right back into the system and not helping him and treating him for his actual mental health issues. Like my father said, we had no idea it had gotten so bad, and this was within a week's time since I last saw him before everything happened, that he had, he had tape, not only on cell phones, but the wall outlets, the emblems on his sneakers, because he said that they were watching him. There was something happening. I kept saying, it's not happening. But when you're in that kind of psychosis, there's no teaching them, telling them what to do. But he went to those programs that the court said that he needed to go to. He went to those mental health programs. They would call. He would, even if he wasn't able to leave the house, he would do it on his tablet, virtually, with the same group, and interact. While he was incarcerated, he was on medication. When they discharged him from both the Massac and from jail several times, he would be on medication and do great. But once they get out, he got no help, none. We even tried to talk to the ADA and got, we were declined any access. My dad, like he said, he went to that court system. They brought him from the house. They brought him to Dorchester Court, and the judge had a assessment done, by a doctor there, and they said he didn't fit the bill. Well, as you know, with a lot of mental health people, they can switch on and off a lot of times, because when they feel like they're going to be locked down, because that's most of his life, because he didn't just want to be anywhere that he felt like he couldn't have control. We asked them, we left several messages with his lawyer at the time. No one would help us. No one would help us. And I was there with him every single day. Just that night that he was shot and killed, my dad and I had a plan. We were going to go for the best team. And if you know, if it's in Boston, the best team is emergency services. They send a clinician out, or they can meet you at the hospital, all those things. But just prior to that, he was assaulted because he thought something had happened in the area, and he was assaulted, badly beaten, with a head injury. My dad said, we got to get him to the hospital, and we did. But that same day we were supposed to call for the best team, but we are thinking, because he was already in that mind frame in that hospital, that they would see the obvious signs just like we've seen. You can tell. But they released him without providing him the help that he needed.
Thank you, Ebony. Thank you for doing everything you could for your brother. Before we hear from the city councilman, it just underscores how much of an epidemic mental health is in America today. The fact that his father took him to the hospital, he somehow got released, and he went to another medical facility and was exhibiting paranoia symptoms even there. And then he left and apparently had the interaction with the citizen who he took their car, and then he went and parked. I mean, none of it makes any sense. It makes me be more convinced that he was having a mental health crisis. I mean, to take a car and then to just go park the car, it doesn't make any sense at all. And so, thankful to the city council saying that we want to use this as a teachable moment for the greater Boston community. And so I'm very grateful for their leadership. We will hear from my good friend, Councilman Culpepper and Councilman Worrell.
We continue to pray for the family and lift the family up in prayer, knowing that this is a difficult time for them. But we also know, as District 7 City Councilor whose district the killing took place in, that we've called over and over in the community for the release of the body cam. We believe that the body cam will show exactly what happened. Pictures don't lie. And so we had a hearing Tuesday where we called the commissioner and the police leadership to come to talk about procedures and policies regarding release of the video. They didn't show up. They sent their lawyer. And so yesterday we filed a summons and a 17F for the body cam video. And let me just say, legally, Ben and I have worked together for many years, good friends through the National Bar Association. So our relationship, when Ben jumps into action, I jump into action. When I jump into action, Ben jumps into action. And there's a legal piece of this that I don't think folks understand, because they keep saying that the DA has said that the body cam should not be released until he makes that decision. When you look at the state law 38-4, it does give the district attorney complete authority over the investigation, but it also says, and in cooperation with the police officer. We believe, and we interpret that to mean that the commissioner has his own authority to release the video without whether or not the district attorney approves it. We also know under 405 for the Boston Police Department that the commissioner approves under 405 who gets to see that video. There's a process where we follow. That's why we file the 17F. That's why we file the summons. We'll have action in the city council on that summons next Wednesday. It was objected to yesterday, so we didn't get to it, but we'll get to it, because we believe that the video cam will show, as we've said over and over, exactly what happened. There's two sides to this story. I've heard both of them, but the video cam will show us the truth about what actually happened. The community has called for the release of the video. I'm a messenger for the community in District 7. And so when you look at the law, it gives the commissioner, and I have not called for the district attorney to release the video. I understand he's doing his investigation, one who was a defense attorney for many years. I understand that. But the commissioner has his independent authority to release the video. And this is what bothers us on the council. In 405, the Boston Police Department, the officer involved in a death investigation has the right to go back, look at the video before he makes a statement with his attorney. And so if his attorney can sit with him, then I say, as a city councilor, Councilor Worrell, as ones who have oversight of the Boston Police Department, when we ask to see a body cam video, we should be readily available to see and review a body cam footage. That's what we are asking for. Nothing out of the ordinary, supported by 405. And everything I filed on this, I've included Councilmember Worrell. Let me just let him speak to you for a few minutes. But we continue to pray for this family. We continue to fight for justice, for what's right. And all we want is the truth.
Amen.
That's all we want. As a city councilor, that's all we want as the truth. And the community, especially in my District 7, all they want is the truth. Councilor Worrell will now comment.
Today, we are standing with the Stephenson King family. And today, we have heard from them, how they had a plan, how they were reaching out for help, and how they are asking now for transparency and answers. When a life is lost in an officer-involved shooting, the public cannot be left in the dark. Families deserve clarity. Communities deserve honesty. And the city has a responsibility to make sure trust is built through openness and not silence. Amen. Because transparency and accountability equals trust. Amen. That is why we've been pushing this issue on the Boston City Council. We have filed hearing orders. We have asked direct questions. We have continued pressing the city on what the rules are when body camera footage should be released and why the Office of Police Accountability and Transparency is not brought in earlier and used more effectively in moments like this. A man died. We have the video. We should be able to see that video. Today, we are standing with Stephenson King and his family, but this also reflects a broader pattern that deserves attention. In just the past 2 months, there have been several incidents across New England involving people with mental health issues that were going through mental health crises, and real concerns about how the police handle those encounters are now being brought up. It happened in New Hampshire this week. It happened in Boston last weekend. It happened in Hartford last month. That should push all of us to take a closer look at the response protocols and whether they are meeting the standards our communities deserve. We are not standing here asking for anything unreasonable. We are asking for a process that is fair, accountable, and worthy of the public's trust. We are asking for the family of Stephenson King to be treated with dignity. We are asking for the people of Boston to get the clarity that they deserve. This is about transparency. This is about accountability. This is about whether Boston is serious about transparency when it matters the most. We can't have trust in the law without accountability. Amen. Those who enforce the law can't be above the law. Amen. Too often, transparency comes too late. Too often, accountability comes too late. And too often, answers come too late. Today is a time that has to change. We will continue to push until this family gets the transparency and until Boston has a system that can truly be one that we, as all Boston residents, can trust. Thank you.